Fine. So,
Right, no problem.
yeah, we could just start with a little introduction then, Neil. So it's just a little bit about yourself, who you are, what your background is, why you do what you do, and what you do.
Yeah, no worries. Well, thanks for having me on as well.
No worries.
Well, my background from when I've been about 16 is powerlifting. But before then, I did a few different sports. Played football, played for City for 5 years, up to youth team level.
Yeah.
And basically, that's kind of what sparked my interest for training. Because I got to 14, 15, I was quite small. And it was a case of I need to get stronger. I knew I needed to get stronger to play football, which is what I wanted to do. And then I got to 16, and it's just come in where they do scholarships rather than like a YTS scheme. So they could only take a limited number of players on. And basically I got offered a part-time scholarship. So I wouldn't be actually training with them, I'd just play the games on a Saturday. And that was because they said they're waiting to see if I develop physically, because basically you're too small to play football.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I was like, alright, fair enough. And I decided, well, I aren't going to get to play on a Saturday, so what I'll do is I'll just sign up for someone else. But in the meantime, I'd actually gotten quite into the powerlifting, so I was getting stronger. And I think I was 16 when I did my first competition, and I really, really enjoyed it. I loved the training, and it got to a point where I thought, well, I love doing this, and I'm not looking forward to playing football. I'm looking forward to going training, and playing football's taken away from my training now, and I'm kind of an all or nothing kind of person, so I thought, well, I'm doing one or the other, I'm going to do as well as I can at powerlifting. So I totally quit football. I think I was 18 when I totally quit. I'd played around a few semi-pro clubs, played for Bridgetown, Goldtown, and just thought, right, I've had enough. I'm going to go and start powerlifting properly.
It's crazy that they judge you on size as well. It's something I don't know if it's still relevant today, but certainly back then.
I think it
you
is.
get judged purely on size. You could be like the best player. You look at some of the best players, you know, at the top level. You know, people like Messi. You know, similar height to us, really. You know, not massive guys in terms of height and stature, but you know, it just shows you, doesn't it? Really.
I think it's this country, isn't it? There's a lot of different countries where, but obviously the game is a lot more physical over here, so you do need that strength. But I think it can be a mistake when people are younger to use that as it should really go down to skill level, because you can always build that strength, develop your strength. Whereas if you haven't got the skill, you're not going to, if you haven't naturally got it, you haven't got it. So yeah, it's something, don't make a lot of sense to me. Yeah. But it worked out well, because I prefer doing powerlifting, loved it. Yeah. So
good.
I was happy.
Good stuff. So just looking at the PT, because you're a PT as well, just looking at your PT business, really, like who do you like to train? So obviously you're a powerlifter, but you don't really train any powerlifters, do you?
Not in. I train a couple in person. I do a lot of programming for powerlifting online. A lot of my powerlifters are from like the online coaching side. So what I do is I set up. Mine's a little bit different. I've been online coaching for about 8 years. I was doing it before it became a thing, really. Just through the forums, people asking me, can you help train me? So I did it for a couple of years, did it for free. Then it started picking up, so there was so many people, I decided to start charging a little bit. And I've got a real good knack for picking numbers. So like a lot of my programs, they're not really based on percentages as such. They're kind of, I have an idea of percentages, but I know what kind of, if someone wants to squat 200 kilo, after a few weeks of working with them and getting to know them, I know what they're going to need to do over the cycle to hit that 200, so I work back off the numbers. And I just seem to have a good knack of getting the numbers right. So it pushes them harder than they'll push themselves, and they reach the goals faster. Yeah. But aside from that, in one-to-one training, I just love training anyone. Anyone who's interested in dropping body fat from your average kind of, your average housewife who's not really trained before, they want to come, just get a bit more in shape. That's fantastic. I love training people who've never really trained before per se. Just getting them involved and starting them off right and making sure they enjoy doing it. So it's something that they can be a positive part of their life. And then on the other side, I also love training the people they've already built a good level of, whether it's strength or muscle, and they just want to get up that notch further.
Yeah.
So I can dig a little deeper and use a bit more advanced techniques with them, which I enjoy doing. So yeah, just the whole physical culture.
A bit like myself, really.
Yeah.
But other than obviously instead of powerlifting, it's weightlifting with me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I agree with your approach as well. It's something you've programmed me for the past 6 weeks, is it now as well, for this novice comp. So yeah, for those that don't know, Neil's programmed and he's trained me for this novice powerlifting comp. As well, and it's something that I've seen from the numbers as well. Again, it's similar principles to myself as well. Keep it basic, focus on progressive overload, listen to your body as well.
Definitely.
Don't overcomplicate it. Throw in some accessories to work on weaknesses as well, which is something you've done with me. Yeah. So yeah, we share a lot of the same views on these things. So what would you say the common problems are that you come across from people that come to train with you? Say someone that's quite new to training that comes to see you, what's kind of like a common problem that you'll see? Or, you know, common goals that they'll have, common issues that they'll have and problems they'll find?
I think the most common problem is, without doubt, exercise form, the technique that they use. So whether that's if you're wanting to get into powerlifting, with powerlifting, you're moving the weight from A to B efficiently as possible. So you've got to make sure that they're doing that, which often, if they're quite new to it, they just haven't built up that ability to do it yet. Neurally, they're just not programmed for that movement. It just takes time. But if they've learned bad habits, it's something you've got to kind of start again, go over. Yeah. Now, if someone's coming and their primary goal is to build muscle, I still like to use a progressive approach to the weights, but it isn't a case of moving the weight from A to B. It's a case of moving the weight using that muscle that you're trying to target. So it's no good doing an exercise for your chest and relying on your shoulders to move the weight, and then you're not going to build the chest up. So it's definitely exercise technique in relation to the goals. I think that'd be my number one thing. Yeah.
Cool. And then goals for the future for you as well. Personally, looking at PT and you know, what you want to go down the route of. Is it just to continue really with your, you know, like a balance of things, you know, people that want to come into it that have never really lifted before, and then others that want to push it the next level, and
definitely, keep
it that way.
Yeah, PT wise, I just want to establish myself as a good PT and help people. That's my, obviously I want to make money, I need to make some money to provide for my family, but it isn't my number one kind of priority, isn't to make as much money as I can, it's to help have a positive impact on people's lives. Yeah. While being lucky enough to have the opportunity to make money at the same time from it.
Yeah, definitely. Agree with that. Cool. And then just looking at powerlifting versus physique training, we already touched on this a little bit as well. So what would you say the number one benefits of powerlifting are, first of all, just powerlifting on its own?
Benefits, I think it's the same as any kind of physical activity. So like from the mental aspect, it's going to help a lot. Just from the endorphins, but not just from the endorphin release during the training. You're going to feel better about yourself. If you're training hard for powerlifting, you are going to look better. You're going to feel better, you're going to feel stronger. If you're using correct form, you've got less chance of lower back issues and things like that. So general day-to-day picking stuff up and that kind of thing, you know how to lift properly, so you've just got less chance of putting your back out or hurting yourself doing stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of small people you see now. I go to different gyms, so obviously I train people at David Lloyd, I train there myself, I train at JD, I've been at Rise, CrossFit. A lot of small people are getting into squatting and deadlifting in particular now. Obviously bench has been quite a big part, it's been a staple over the years, hasn't it? But not so much squats and deadlifts, but you do see a lot more people now squatting and deadlifting, you know, general population, taking it a lot more seriously as well, getting the equipment and you know, getting into it. So it's quite interesting, isn't it, how it's developed even in the 5 to 10 years that I've been involved in this, you know, in and around commercial gyms on a frequent basis. It's quite interesting. Would you encourage more people to take it a bit more seriously and compete, or would you say it's not really for everyone?
Good question. I don't think it is for everyone. I think competing should be something that you do because you want to, you enjoy competing. I don't think you should find it as, right, I've got to compete if I train, because I don't think it's needed. if you need the end goal of a competition to motivate yourself, or you just enjoy the competitive aspect, then brilliant. But I don't think it's no more kind of noble than not competing, doesn't it? It doesn't make any better if you compete versus if you don't. It's just everyone to their own, I think.
Yeah, it's not for everyone, is it?
No.
I saw a comment on the Facebook group recently actually about there's a guy there, I think it's his first competition, and he's pretty nervous about it, and he's saying he's getting really anxious about competing and being in front of everyone. So
right,
it's not always for everyone, is it? You do want a little bit of nerves. You do want to be nervous on the platform, but if it's kind of overwhelming and taking away from that.
Yeah, I think there's two ways of looking at it, I suppose. If you're really anxious and you're in that position that you've just said, then yeah, it's maybe it ain't for you. But on the other hand, if you can kind of overcome the nerves and do it, it's a big positive thing for you. Do you know, you've kind of, it's not just about training in the gym. It's about as a person, you've developed, you've overcome something that you were scared of, kind of thing. And I think that can make you stronger mentally. And then after you've done it, did you enjoy it? Was it as bad as you thought? Well, you can decide whether you want to compete again, and it just gets a bit easier, I think, on that. Yeah, definitely, it does. You do feel more and more experienced the more competitions you do. Obviously, I've not done. This is my first powerlifting comp, but from the weightlifting comps that I've done, I do remember the first one was really nerve-wracking, but once I did it, it was. You feel more and more experienced the more you do, definitely, and you feel better able to handle the situation. Definitely, yeah. There always are going to be nerves, but you kind of feel you do need them. Yeah, you need that adrenaline. Yeah, I'm pretty bad for nerves. Yeah. I've found better ways of controlling them as the years have gone past. But yeah, I suppose I'm quite when it comes to something that I want to do well at, I'm probably a bit of an anxious person sometimes. Ideally, I'd like to not be, but it's just the makeup of who I am. And I think the main thing regarding nerves is to make sure, like if I'm going into a powerlifting comp, I want to take away as many of the unknowns as possible and make sure that every squat is to depth. So the last thing you want to do is go into a powerlifting competition unsure if you're in depth. Yeah. Unsure if you're doing the correct, lifting in the correct manner. So that's where you're going to come unstuck. Yeah. Other than that, if you can nail the lifts correctly and you're sensible about your approach to how you choose which numbers you're going to do, then you don't have to worry about bombing out or anything like that, because you know for sure that you're not going to. Yeah, get your total on the board. If it's your first comp as well, it's going to be a PB. Everything's going to be a PB because it's a competition. So if you get a total on the board, it's a PB in your first comp. Exactly. There's so much stuff that you'll do in a first comp, and you won't really think about. You won't really even think about what it is that's happened, kind of thing, before. You don't know. Like, you'll learn something and think, I wish I'd have known that before I'd have started, or I shouldn't have done it like that, that was stupid. But then it's just how we learn. Yeah. So it's just one of them things. Definitely. Yeah. So what are the differences in approaches for training for powerlifting versus a powerlifting performance versus physique? So we kind of mentioned a little bit as well, didn't you? You mentioned about the differences. It's not the same, is it, the approach that you take? So what would you say the main differences are? The majority of my kind of training career has been spent powerlifting. But at the same time, I've always had the goal of developing a physique at the same time. So potentially it's detracted a little bit from the powerlifting side. But when I'm training in that manner, my goals are always the focus is on improving my squat, bench and deadlift first and foremost. So I'll be doing, I aren't really a big volume guy, I'm not really a big frequency guy. So I'll squat maybe twice a week, deadlift once, bench twice, which isn't a huge amount of frequency really. Sometimes I'll even squat once, deadlift once, bench once. I've had good success doing that. Most of the rep ranges are lower, so I work. For me personally, I know for my squat, I'm good at squatting for reps. I'm not quite as good at squatting for lower reps. So I'll spend most of my training cycle squatting for doubles and triples, even from 8 to 10 weeks out. So my intensity is high from the off for doubles and triples. I've just got to manage the intensity in a way and the volume so that I don't burn out too early. But I've learned how to do that. Yeah. I think a lot of people it can be a mistake to just go by a plan of, right, I'm 12 weeks out, so I do 10 reps, then I do 10 reps the next week, then I drop to 8 and 8 and 6 and just drop the reps as you go. Because a lot of the issue is going to be that initial rep. Because a lot of people, what they do is they'll do the initial rep and then they'll use the feedback, like the proprioceptive feedback off that initial rep to then change the body position slightly so they're in a better position. So you'll see, especially with beginners, the second rep is going to be a better rep.
Yeah. And
now in powerlifting, you're only doing 1 rep, so you want to do as many first reps as possible. So people will generally be better off, instead of doing 3 sets of 10, doing 10 sets of 3.
Makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Absolutely. That's something that I've found as well, personally, on squat especially. I'll find exactly the same situation. My first one will be a bit messy, and then the second one, very quickly as well, you do feel like, you know, it was off, I need to correct this, and the second one will be a much nicer lift. So, but yeah, like you're saying, powerlifting, just like weightlifting, exactly the same, 1 attempt, 1 lift at a time. So you've got to nail that first one. I
think a big thing with powerlifting training as well, I was lucky enough to train with Andy Bolton, the guys in Leeds, Brian Reynolds, and some really, really good lifters. That's how I started. I started on my own, but after a few years of training, I managed to get to Leeds to train with those guys a few times a week. Did that for a couple of years. And one of the main things you learn is about the intent with the weights. So everything you do, as soon as you're warmed up, you're moving it as fast as possible. So you're putting 100% effort into, say, 70% weight, so it's moving very, very fast. And you need to do that to develop. If you only put enough effort in as you need to put in, as you know, you're not going to get the same training response as you are from putting 100% effort into every rep. You're missing out so much. So if anyone wants to look more into that, look at Fred Hatfield and his CAT training, compensatory acceleration, and it goes into detail about how he was the first guy to squat 1,000 pound, and he did so by making sure that everything he did, he moved the weights as fast as possible. And that it basically gives you so much better training effect over time. And it's just
similar in weightlifting as well. Exactly the same, whether you've got an empty bar or, you know, 50% 1 rep max attempt, it's always the same intent and always the same effort. So very similar in that respect. But so physique training as well is a big factor, and it has a knockover effect as well. I found in weightlifting training as well, you know, doing high repetitions on squats, to start with, you know, an 8-week program, doing like 4 sets of 8, things like that, pushing myself out of my comfort zone, building some size in my legs, in my lower body. Actually, that sets you up brilliantly, I think, for
without a doubt, definitely.
The heavier weights to come. If you've got that base underneath the bar, you're just going to be a lot stronger. So
a lot of people point to the fact that they're saying, well, with low reps and powerlifting, it doesn't matter about the size of the muscle per se, because look at this guy, he's got small muscles and lifts more than that big bodybuilder over there. But then you've got to remember, there's only the recruitment of motor units is going to be limited by the size of your muscle. So if you've got a bigger muscle but still have that neural efficiency, you're going to be a lot stronger. So building that muscle is going to help you overall. With physique training, I still think it's very important. The most important thing is to overload. So when you've got that exercise technique correct to hit the muscles, get strong. Like the strongest guys in this country on the bench press, a lot of them are bodybuilders.
There's a lot of crossover.
So many strong bodybuilders. People don't realise, I don't think, how strong they are.
Definitely, powerlifting and bodybuilding, there's a big crossover. And I've felt in my own physique, even over the 6 weeks of training, doing more volume, because I've not really trained chest very much, it doesn't really transfer over to weightlifting, but because it's been a weak point, you've got me doing high reps on, you know, accessories, dumbbell pressing, cable flies, dips, you know, a lot, you know, higher repetitions, building muscle mass. But in response to that, you know, when it's coming to the heavier bench presses, it's just, you just feel so much more solid under the bar.
I agree.
So it does have that transfer over, definitely. So there's a big crossover. It's interesting, you do see powerlifters and bodybuilding kind of crossing over as well. Which you don't see as much with weightlifting.
No, I wouldn't expect so. I'm not really that familiar with weightlifting as such. I've only watched it, so I can't.
it's something that I, when I go back to weightlifting, I will keep in, doing some of this stuff as well. I like to bench press, do more accessory stuff as well, just to maintain that muscle mass.
Do you feel bench pressing affects you, like mobility wise?
Yeah, potentially, yeah. I'd need to keep on top of the overhead mobility. So, but if you feel like it's not affecting your overhead mobility, then it's worth doing it. It's listening to your body, I think. Klokov, we were just talking about Klokov. I think when he was competing in weightlifting, he said that he didn't really bench press at all, because he's quite a big muscular guy. So if he bench pressed, he'd miss jerks forwards. So when he's trying to stick a weight overhead from the shoulders, if your pecs are tight, if your shoulders are forward slightly, you're gonna miss it. You need to have good mobility, but I think if you can maybe just, it's not to say to absolutely hammer the chest, but just to keep a little bit in, a little bit of pressing in. I think definitely it'll transfer over in terms of the lockout as well. We do in weightlifting as well a lot of dips, overhead pressing as well. So
I know you're strong on dips.
So it's good. Definitely will help. So I know we've kind of had a look at this as well. Where would you say most people go wrong in the training specific to powerlifting? I know we've said like the general beginner, but with powerlifters, the lifting with intent, coming back to that.
100%.
Being lazy with lighter reps, maybe.
Yeah, it's not even laziness sometimes. Some people I don't think they've ever been told or really know how they should be lifting the weight. If you see it time and time again, people, they're using 70%, so it's an easy weight. Yeah. So they just it's as slow as maybe nearly a 1 rep max. Yeah. Because they're just doing enough to get the bar moving. But it doesn't, as well as the training effect that you're going to get from it by moving it fast, you're not really warming up efficiently either. You want to get the neural patterns firing. So I'd say that's one of the biggest things. I think one of the big things now that I notice is a little bit too much rigidity to a program from beginners. So I know when I started training, I went to train, as I say, I found that Andy and the guys training in Leeds. So I made a trip to Leeds 3 times a week just to train. I sacrificed at the time. I took a crap job, really, just so that I'd have the time, because it was at 5 o'clock I trained, and I took a crap job that fit in with that, so I could actually go out there and train, which looking back maybe weren't the brightest idea long term, but at the time I wanted to be the best powerlifter I could be, and to do that I wanted to train with the best guys. You can learn everything from the articles, the videos, books, but there's no substitute for training with the best, most experienced guys. So I went into it with a mindset of, I'm just going to do whatever they tell me to do. At the time, I'd just got a degree in exercise science. I'd done a fair bit of training on my own. I'd probably done a few comps by then. I've always been an avid reader, so anything I'm into, I've soak up everything. I remember when I first started, it was Westside. That's what I loved. I loved the concept. I loved the training. At the time, forums were about, it was Elite FTS was about the first site, but before then it was Deep Squatter, I think it was called. I read every article, Dave Tate, Lewis Simmons, them guys. I bought every DVD, well it was video at the time, but I bought every video. I must have had 80 odd Westside Barbell videos that I used to watch all the time. I wanted to know everything about it. I wanted to know how to set it up, everything. Now when I went to train with Andy and that, they didn't do anything like that. But there was no part of me that thought, well, why don't I suggest we do this? I thought, well, I'm just going to do exactly what they say and stick to it and just be consistent with it. So the way they set the training up, to me, from what I'd learned, that it didn't really make much sense. But they were the guys at the top of the tree, the multiple world champions, world record holders. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, if you find someone and you're lucky enough to find someone stronger than you, who's got experience, and they offer for you to train with them, do what they, if it's a session off plan, you've got your online coach or whatever, and you're still more of a novice, intermediate lifter, train with the other guy, do exactly what they tell you to do, just learn from it. It's not gonna, long term, it's gonna be beneficial. Short term, it might mess your cycle up a bit, so what, you're gonna learn so much more.
Yeah, I agree with that, absolutely. agree with it. You know, every time I've been on to Atlas with Cyril as well, and the guys there, you know, guys that have competed in Commonwealth Games, and you know, it's exactly the same thing. You know, if they tell you to tweak something, try another accessory out, it's like, no. You're not going to say, oh no, I need to stick to this on my program. It's like, yeah, you just listen to these guys there.
Definitely.
Absolutely. So yeah, absolutely agree with it. And then just a few random bits as well then, just generally, what other particular areas of health and fitness training are you a big believer in as well? Are there any other areas kind of outside of powerlifting or any other bits and pieces?
At the moment, I
anything
suppose
you're looking at the minute?
It's just gym related, physical culture, the whole concept of training, whether that's powerlifting, weightlifting, strongman, CrossFit, just any kind of, for me I prefer the resistance based stuff, so the kind of going into the gym and just doing an hour on a treadmill, I can't really get on board with that. But as far as the other like concepts go, I absolutely love it. I love learning about different things. I apply a lot to some of my clients, you see, because they might not be interested or have any idea what CrossFit is, but the way they set out some of the WODs, the circuits, taking different bits and bobs from it, I want to make the sessions as enjoyable as possible. I want to push people and I want to give them challenges. So like last time you did this circuit, you got this time, can we beat it? So then they're going to come in, repeat it after a couple of weeks, different circuits, and then if you're beating it, you just feel so positive. You know, you're getting fitter, you're getting stronger, you're just getting better. You're there, you're training, but you're not just spinning your wheels. You know, you're actually doing something. Yeah, which is it's a great feeling, I think.
Definitely. The last recording I did actually just talks about general. I put on my Instagram, you know, have you got, you know, that one where you ask if you got any questions. I put one on there. Do you have any specific questions to training or, you know, health and fitness? And someone asked me about what do I need to prioritise for fat loss. And you seem pretty on the ball with the nutritional side, losing weight. But he was saying like, what do I need to do, more cardio or more strength training, more weight training? What would your take on that be?
It's going to come down to how much training they already do. So if they're doing quite a lot of strength training,
I think the person just trains 3 times a week. I think it is, but
right. The way I'd set it up ideally is I think it depends. Like from what I've learned, bigger guys are generally gonna. A lot of the time, from what I've seen and heard on forums and stuff like that, if you're a bigger guy, you're probably gonna be better off doing a bit more cardio and keeping food high. Someone like me, I can kind of afford to drop calories a bit more and still retain the muscle, because I ain't got as much muscle to begin with as some guys. But the first thing I'd look at is the strength training. How much, what can we get out of the strength and resistance training? How can we use that to create a deficit? I think there can be an issue because I don't like using the training per se to create a deficit. I'd want to use the training to retain muscle, and then the diet and any little bits of cardio for the fat loss. But obviously if you're training hard, it's going to have a massive impact. It's the only thing you're going to get your EPOC off. You're not going to get it off high intensity cardio, you're just going to get off weight training. So that's a big thing.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that I was talking about exactly. You know, that calorie deficit, isn't it? And then strength training, and then just trying to maintain muscle mass as much as you can. As well. So, do you have any general advice that you give to someone starting lifting? You know, if they've come into the gym and they want to learn how to lift weights, what kind of advice would you give them?
Someone who knows what they're doing straight away. Do you know?
As early as possible.
As early as possible. If you've got to pay out for it, I know I'm a PT, so I'm going to say maybe that's going to pick, but it isn't. It's if you can find someone the worth paying, just learn from them, even if it's just for 2 months, get on the right track. If you've got a personal trainer or a coach, try and, if you're wanting to be successful in it and you're quite motivated to do it, learn from them, ask them questions, message them questions, stuff like that. Actually try and learn from them. Don't just think, well, I've paid for my hour, so I'm doing my 2 hours a week. I'll see them then. Because at that time, that's your time to train. That's where you're going to get the benefits of training. In between sessions, can I send you an email? Can I ask a few questions? Just learn as much as you can. Yeah,
definitely, I agree with that. I ask people that train, especially with the weightlifting as well. You know, if they're struggling, if I've got limited time with them, if I've got a group session, I've not had a chance to see them individually too, for too long. I'll kind of say like, if we run out of time, drop us a message through, send a video through side view, and we'll have a look at it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's important, definitely. So, cool. Is there anything else you wanted to add, or any other thoughts you've got on training in general, lifestyle?
Not so much, I don't think.
Yeah.
No.
Where can people find you then? Do you use Instagram mainly now, or?
Yeah, generally Instagram.
What's your Instagram?
It's Neil Deighton 85.
Yeah.
No, it isn't. It's Neil Deighton.
Yeah.
That's my email, neildeighton85@gmail.com.
Email's in there anyway, so.
Yeah, cool. I am on Facebook as well. I need to start posting a bit more stuff on there, to be fair. Just getting a bit more time, hopefully now, so I can start putting a bit more out. If anyone's got any kind of things they want to see me talk about or write about, just let me know. I'm happy to do that. Or if you've got any questions, send me an email, get in touch. I'll always do my best to respond to everyone.
All good. Nice one, Neil.
Right.
Thanks for your time.
Very much.
Great
Nice
stuff.
one.
Cheers.